Hello, this is Schofield here. I am here to tell you about the PE this week, and I'm going to be talking you through a few of the PE activities. I've got the benefit of having a few helpers in school as well, so they're going to show me and you kind of how we do this, and I just want to talk you through 4 of the activities we're going to do today.
Okay, challenge number 1. So us 3, we're going to try and get up from our bellies without using our hands. So we're going to put our hands behind our back, and you're not allowed to roll over onto your side, and you have to try and make it up onto your feet. Staden's a pro, he's probably going to win this. Ready? Right, that's all ready. On your mark, get set, go. I just can't do this. Staden, you're too good. Use your head. Yes! Yes! I did it with a run! Yes!
So the first activity that we're going to look at today is called the figure of 8, and it works like this.
Okay, this next activity is called the figure of 8. So it works like this. So what we will do is we're trying to pass the ball through our legs in a figure of 8. And we want to see who can do the most in a minute. Okay, so it works like this. So we're going to stand with our feet straight like this. Nice one. We've got a ball. You need a ball. We're going to pass the ball through our legs, round our leg, and then back round. So you're drawing an imaginary 8. Drawing an imaginary 8 in mid-air. Okay? So the time is for a minute. People behind the camera as well, you can play if you want for a minute. It's up to you. Hold on. On your mark. Get set. Go. And that's about right, stop there. That's tiring, you know.
The second activity that we're going to look at today is called the treasure chest, and it's really good if you can do this one against someone. So if you can do it against a parent or a sibling or just a friend, then that would be amazing. Remember, we've got to keep our distances as much as we can, but this game's really, really fun. So it works like this.
Right, next activity is called treasure hunt / chest. Me and Mr. H are not quite sure about what it's called. So it is Thomas up against Iona, and they're trying to collect as much equipment as possible. So they've got 10 things over there. They're going up against each other to see how many things they can get back here. Whoever's got the most at the end wins, and they can only get one at a time. So this is about endurance and also about speed. On your marks, get set, go.
Come on, Iona!
2 seconds to get that back. 1. Oh, I think that might be a draw again. Let's have a look at how many we've got. Iona, how many things have you got? Thomas, how many things have you got? 2 left.
Thomas, is that... Oh, my wife!
Thomas, how many bits have you got? 8. Iona, how many? 8 as well. We've got a draw.
The last activity that I'm going to talk to you about is Battleships, and this is probably my favourite activity from this week, but I'm just going to talk you through how you can play. Again, you need to play against someone, or you could use it just to improve your own kind of hand-eye coordination, your own targeting skills, but it's best if you can play against someone else to keep it a bit competitive, and I love being competitive, so you know I definitely advocate that. So this one's Battleships, and this is how it works.
Right, guys ready? Yes. Okay, cool. Right, this next game is called Battleships, and it's starring Freya and Iona. They're going against each other to see who can hit their opponent's target. So Iona has put her 2 pink shoes down and her white wood rubber. Freya has put down her 2 plimsolls and her tray. Whoever hits their opponent's 3 objects first wins the game. So sunk their opponent's battleships. Right, Iona, you go first then. This is all about hand-eye coordination. Right, then remove it then. If you hit your opponent's object, you go and get it, bring it back, and then it's out of the way. Let's go then. Freya, your turn. Good throw. That's a great effort. You hit the smallest target as well.
Because it was 3 points and now 9. Oh,
and get the tray. This is definitely more accurate than me and you, Riley. I think we'll stop the game there, but you see how it works. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Schofield again. Last thing I'm going to say to you today is it's really important that we stay as active as possible, especially in these weird times. So I have chosen to ride my bike to school today, and I'm nearly home. I'm just on the River Trent, so just joined by a few little friends here. So whatever you can, get out, get active, run if you can, cycle if you can, whatever, but just try and stay as active as possible because it keeps us happy, it keeps us feeling good. So that's it from me. See you later.
Hello, it's Mrs. Hunter here. I hope you're all keeping safe and well at home. And this week we're going to carry on with the story The Giant's Necklace. Can you remember what's happened before? Cherry was down in Cornwall in a place called Zana, and she was looking for cowrie shells so that she could make a giant's necklace. She was alone in the cove and the sea came in and she couldn't get out. So she managed to climb up the cliff where she found an entrance to a tin mine. She went along the tin mine and then saw two men having a conversation. And that is where we're going to start today. "Excuse me," Cherry said tentatively. She felt she had eavesdropped for long enough. She approached them slowly. "Excuse me, but I've got a bit lost. I climbed the cliff, you see, 'cause I was cut off from the cove. I was trying to get back, but I couldn't, and I saw this light, and so I climbed up. I want to get home, and I wondered if you could help me get to the top." "Top?" said the older one, peering into the dark. "Come closer, lad, where we can see you." "She's not a lad, father. Are you blind? Can't you not see? 'Tis a filly. 'Tis a young filly, all wet through from the sea." "Come," the young man said, standing up and beckoning Cherry in. "Don't be afeard, little girl. We shan't harm you. Come on, you can have some of my tea, if you like." They spoke their words in a manner Cherry had never heard before. It was not the usual Cornish blur, but heavier and rougher in tone, more old-fashioned somehow. There were so many questions in her mind. "But I thought the mine was closed 100 years ago," she said nervously. "That's what I was told, anyway." "Well, you was told wrong," said the old man, whom Cherry could see more clearly now under his candle. His eyes were white and set far back in his head, unnaturally so, she thought, and his lips and mouth seemed a vivid red in the candlelight. "Closed? Closed indeed. Does it look closed to you? Do you think we're digging for worms? Over 4,000 tons of tin last year and 9,000 of copper ore, and you ask if the mine is closed? Over 20 fathoms below the sea this mine goes. We'll dig right out under the ocean, halfway to Mercia, afore we close this mine." He looked passionately now, almost angrily, so that Cherry felt she had offended him. "Hush, father," said the young man, taking off his jacket and wrapping it round Cherry's shoulders. "She doesn't want to hear all about that. She's cold and wet. Can't you see? Now let's make a little fire to warm her through. She's shivered right through to her bones. You can see she is." "They all are," said the old tinner, pulling himself to his feet. "They all are." And he shuffled past her into the dark. "I'll fetch the wood," he muttered, and then added, "for all the good it'll do." "What does he mean?" Cherry asked the young man, for whom she felt an instant liking. "What did he mean by that?" "Oh, pay no heed, little girl," he said. "He's an old man now, and tired of the mine. We're both tired of it, but we're proud of it, see? And we've nowhere else to go, nothing else to do." He had a kind voice that was reassuring to Cherry. He seemed somehow to know the questions she wanted to ask, for he answered them now without ever asking. "Sit down by me while you listen, girl," he said. "Father'll make a fire to warm you, and I shall tell you how we came to be here. You won't be afeard now, will you?" Cherry looked up into his face, which was younger than she had expected from his voice, but like his father's, the eyes seemed sad and deep-set, yet they smiled at her gently, and she smiled back. "That's my girl. It was a new mine, this. Promising, everyone said. The best tin in Cornwall, and that means the best tin in the world. 1865 it started up, and they were looking for tinners, and so father found a cottage down by Treville and came to work over here. I was already 14, so I joined him down the mine. We prospered, and the mine prospered to start with. Mother and the little children had full bellies, and there was talk of sinking a fresh shaft. Times were good and promised to be better." Cherry sat transfixed as the story of the disaster unfolded. She heard how they had been trapped by a fall of rock, about how they had worked to pull them away. But behind every rock was another rock and another rock. She heard how they had never even heard any sound of rescue. They had died, he said, in 2 days or so, because the air was bad and because there was too little of it. Father has never accepted it. He still thinks he's alive, that he goes home to mother and the little children each evening. But he's dead, just like me. I can't tell him, though, for he'd not understand, and it would break his heart if he ever knew. "So you aren't real? I'm just imagining all this. You're just a dream." "No dream, my girl," said the young man, laughing out loud. "No more'n we're imagining you. We're real right enough, but we're dead, and have been for 100 years and more. Ghosts, spirits, that's what living folk call us. Come to think of it, that's what I called us when I was alive." Cherry was on her feet suddenly and backing away. "No need to be afeard, little girl," said the young man, holding out his hand towards her. "We won't harm you. No one can harm you, not now. Look, he's started the fire already. Come over and warm yourself. Come, it'll be all right, girl. We'll look after you. We'll help you." "But I want to go home," Cherry said, feeling the panic rising to her voice and trying to control it. "I know you're kind, but I want to go home. My mother will be worried about me. They'll be out looking for me. Your light saved my life, and I want to thank you, but I must go, else they'll worry themselves sick. I know they will." "You going back home?" the young man asked, and then he nodded. "I suppose you'll want to see your family again." "Course I am," said Cherry, perplexed by the question. "Course I do." "'Tis a pity," he said sadly. "Everyone passes through, and no one stays. They all want to go home, but then so do I. You'll want me to guide you to the surface, I suppose." "I'm not the first, then," Cherry said. "There's been others climb up into the mine to escape from the sea. You've saved lots of people." "A few," said the tinner, nodding. "A few." "You're a kind person," Cherry said, warming to the sadness in the young man's voice. "I never thought ghosts would be kind." "We're just people who've passed on," replied the young man, taking her elbow and leading her towards the fire. "There's nice people, and there's nasty people. It's the same if you're alive or if you're dead. You're a nice person, I can tell that, even though I haven't known you for long. I'm sad, because I should like to be alive again with my friends and go rabbiting or blackberrying up by the chapel near Treville, like I used to. The sun always seemed to be shining then. After it happened, I used to go up to the surface and move amongst the people in the village. I went often to see my family, but if I spoke to them, they never seemed to hear me. And of course, they can't see you. You can see them, but They can't see you. That's the worst of it. So I don't go up much now, just to collect wood for the fire and a bit of food now and then. I stay down here with Father in the mine, and we work away, day after day. From time to time, someone like you comes up the tunnel from the sea and lightens our darkness. I'll be sad when you go." The old man was hunched over the fire, rubbing his hands and holding them out over the heat. "Not often we have a fire," he said, his voice more sprightly now. "Only on special occasions. Birthdays, of course. We always have a fire on birthdays back at the cottage. Martha's next. You don't know her. She's my only daughter. She'll be 8 on September the 10th. She's been poorly, you know. Her lungs, that's what the doctor said." He sighed deeply. "'Tis dreadful damp in the cottage. 'Tis well nigh impossible to keep it out." There was a tremor in the old man's voice that betrayed his emotion. He looked up at Cherry, and she could see the tears in his eyes. "She looks a bit like you, my dear. Raven-haired and as pretty as a picture. But not so tall. Not so tall. Come closer, my dear. You'll be warmer that way." Cherry sat with them by the fire till it died away to nothing. She longed to go, to get home amongst the living. But the old man talked on of his family and their little one-roomed cottage, with a ladder to the bedroom, where they all huddled together for warmth, of his friends that he used to meet in the Tinner's Arms every evening. There were tales of wrecking and smuggling, and all the while the young man sat silent until there was a lull in the story. "Father," he said, "I think our little friend would like to go home now. Shall I take her up, as I usually do?" The old man nodded and waved his hand in dismissal. "Come back and see us sometime, if you've a mind to," he said, and then put his face in his hands. "Goodbye," said Cherry. "Thank you for the fire and for helping me. I won't forget you." But the old man never replied. I think we'll leave it there this week. We should finish the story next week, so we'll find out what happens to Cherry then.